Am I gonna have this slide on this screen? Or thank you. Well, it's a great honor for me to have a presentation in this forum. I'm a green guy. I have 20 years of experience on this green from the private sector. So today I just want to share some thoughts and experience related to the green business strategy based on my experience. I'll just give lots of slides because I have like about 20 minutes here. Well, as you know, KPMG, 140 countries, 140,000 professionals working to advise the business and government. We have the global climate change and sustainability practice. And we are divided into, we have like 700 professionals with 50 countries. And we are divided into 3 regions, the Americas and Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and Asia Pacific. I'm in charge of Asia Pacific. Well, carbon constrained era. As you see from this slide, you know, from the global warming, that ice is melting. Everybody knows that, but it's not the environmental problem, but it's the social and political issue, because when ice is melting, the sea level rises, and then that you have to move your plant or factory along the coastal line to the inland, and you have to move your people from the coastal line to the inland. So this is related to some major material, social and political issue. That's why the international society are trying to comply with these issues and stop the global warming and climate change by changing the fossil fuel energy economy to the green energy the economy, which brings about the green growth and low carbon at the same time. Well, we are still in the financial crisis, but you know that the political leaders are committing more the greener reduction of carbon and energy and so on. What I'm saying is, you know, we used to go through the period that only the energy industry focuses on green, but now since we are experiencing the paradigm shift, you know, all kinds of industry from the private perspective are caring for this issue. Since the economic change from the fossil fuel to green energy, you will find the change from concentrated supply to distributed supply, and you will see the fuel intensive to technology intensive. That's why you realize that the Samsung Electronics, they produce the solar cells to produce power. And you find some change from mass consumption demand to optimization. That's why every day you hear about the optimization and the smart grid and resource circulation society. So it's like a societal change, not just, you know, the energy industries change. So there are some green politics. There are carrot, the stick, of course, that, like, you know, you will face some regulation. The carbon, for example, the carbon regulation on plant and carbon regulation on on product. And you will see also the Green New Deal. You pour some money, like we call it green quantitative ease, so that you can have more green jobs and more industry boost. I wouldn't just, sorry about the busy slides. Yeah, I wouldn't just go over the old slides, but these are the countries that I'm in charge of, except for US. But what these will give you just a little bit of feeling that all fragmented legislation are working on some kind, the carbon pricing on the industry and on the fossil fuel emission. Like the United States, they have regional, like for some states, they have tried to have some carbon reduction for some states. So for example, like RGGI and WCI. But their main trend are changing from carbon reduction to clean energy standard, which meaning that they will have like 80% of energy from the clean energy by 2035. For Japan, which I'm in charge of, they have although they have an unstable government because they have a frequent political leaders change, but they still stick to the 25% reduction by 2020. But their industry association called KLNN is too strong to reject the governmental the pressure on the carbon pricing. But they still doing the local government's emission trading. For China, the high growth, as you mentioned, they're willing to learn, but not adopt the international practices. But they still stick to the carbon intensity target, meaning they will still grow, and they will stick to the carbon intensity target rather than absolute target. And there are some provincial level emission trading scheme. But the interesting thing is that China is current largest carbon credit suppliers in the world. Australia, Australia has two-speed economy, as you know. That one is mining and the other is the others. And it's kind of surprised that they put 23 Australian dollars per ton of carbon to the industry. I mean, this is kind of amazing to show their will to reduce the carbon of their nation, and that will be turned into the emission trading scheme later on. The outlook for afterwards, the pessimistic perspective for binding international regime, but fragmented carbon regulation by legislation is expected, and various offset or investment schemes are expected too. I think you can read through the handout that we gave you. Well, now enough for society. For business, let me just jump into the business strategy responding to this issue. There has been a survey last year by EIU that for 700 companies globally, regarding this changing climate issue, that CEOs perceive this issue as a primarily commercial opportunities rather than the primarily risk management. 31% are for opportunity, 20% for the risk management, and 33% for both. So they are recognizing this issue as an opportunity. And for threats, of course the industry are trying to convert threat into opportunity. And for threat, it's the regulation on plant, which will be the cost increase for the industry, and regulation on product, which will lose their market share decrease. Let me just give you an example for this. Do you know the Hyundai Sonata? And that's a car. That's best-selling car. Now it's exporting to EU with a price of $20,000 per car. But in 2016, they have to pay $10,000 for penalty for the carbon emission reductions. So meaning that the European consumer has to pay $30,000 for Sonata from 2016, which nobody would pay that. So this is one of the driver that the industry are doing some R&D on their products. And of course there are lots of opportunities like user regulation, offset and trading, and new business, renewable and energy efficiency, and existing business, the green marketing. I'll just give you an example for all of that. Well, before I jump into the example, let me just introduce one concept. I gave a presentation last month with a mic reporter. Maybe some of you participated in that forum. The forum title was Creating Shared Value. This is the concept from the mic reporter. The industry used to do some good thing by giving philanthropy or by just doing some social responsibility. This is all about the cost for industry. But he insists that now industry has to have some strategy to create shared value. That's the policies to enhance competitiveness and advancing social and economic conditions at the same time. This is very conceptual. I understand because I'm an expert on this issue from the private sector, but nobody would do that because the social benefit seems, it's nothing to do with the corporate profit. But that's why I just prepared this slide, like creating shared value. Scientists said social benefit equals to profit maximization for the industry, and innovation and investment and return for both. But that's what scientists say. But from business perspective, we feel uncertainty to the market, and we feel it's too long-term for return, and there are no precedents. So let me just describe this concept from different angle. Well, I know the social agenda like climate change or population growth or resource scarcity, energy security and price, you name it. This issue affects business, but in energy industry it directly affects it, but most of other industries, they are affected by social agenda through stakeholders, and it's getting bigger pressure. So, this social agenda gives some signals to employee, government, investor, supplier, consumer, community, which business cannot ignore at all. I mean, it's directly related to their financial performance. Well, this is one of the examples what investor as a stakeholder give a green pressure to the industry. I'm not just talking about little piece in the corner. I'm talking about the main piece at the main center. It has been 8 years. 551 institutional investors whose the asset management amount to $71 trillion, and 80 government and corporate purchasers asked 3,000 companies in all over the world to disclose their carbon strategy, to disclose their green governance, to disclose their green target, and their and green performance. It has been 8 years, and they select a leaders group from what they have gathered, and they just draw out the chart, and the total return is a whole lot better than lower group. That's why 551 institutional investors every year gather this old data and share among themselves so that each of the investors can make a decision based on this information. Secondly, the financial performance again. Harvard Business Study, it's 2 months ago. High sustainability companies significantly outperform their counterparts over the long term. Of course, the timing still matters, I'm not saying that every sector from the industry should invest in green matter right now, it's depending upon sector, but from the general perspective, that over the long term, both in terms of stock market and accounting performance. So if you look at this chart performing better, the high sustainability companies performing better than low sustainability companies, and you can find this study at the bottom if you want to read them. So from my experience, that some sector will be front and some sector will be back. We cannot say all sectors are same. We cannot say to all sectors you have to invest in this green era, nice fencing green era ahead right now, because some sector, they will lose the money. So, you know, whenever I present the best practice or some example precedents, it has to go by sector. So let me just to give you some best example by sector. First, food and beverage. There's one company called Otugi, which is the top food and beverage company in Korea. I set up the green strategy for them. Now they think life cycle in green for each value chain. For R&D, they try to minimize the cooking time for their customer to save the energy in the society. So they not only just care for their manufacturing, the green manufacturing, but also they care for their customers' green behavior. That's what we suggested. And they use that for their green marketing, which has been pretty successful. And also, it's pretty much the same. In light of that, the consumption of product. Well, they now produce the pre-washed rice. The consumers do not have to wash their rice before they cook, so that the customers can save water. Customers can prevent water contamination. It's for consumers' green behavior. So it's kind of concept of expansion of the green marketing, which has been pretty successful financially too. Second sector, home appliances. There's a company called the Ungjin Koei. Now it's in the M&A market, reflecting the financial crisis. But the Ungjin Koei they have a good financial performance. They had a program called refurbishing program. By this, they change the return goods to the refurbished goods. Of course, the manufacturer benefit. They reduce the disposal cost, and consumers pay cheap in price with the same quality. And that's been proven by the financial benefit. Right-hand side, they save 50 billion won, which is approximately $50 million, and sales increase $210 million. It's 3.5% of their total sales. And it has been exponentially increasing, of course. So I think this is kind of creating share value, so that, you know, they always care for not only their company, but also expanding their company's boundary to the society. And it sort of brings back their financial performance into their company again. I'm not just saying this is, that's why this is kind of, you know, the sector by sector approach. So now the POSCO, which is the global top steel makers. I used to work for POSCO for 10 years. In 2002, in May, the POSCO set up a team called New Business Development. So at that time, I used to work for that, and I went to that team, and our mission was to make some business model for POSCO without any limitation of money and any limitation of time. So what we did was we set up the business model for magnesium plate production. Now the factories are here and there in Korea. And we designed that because instead of steel plate, the magnesium plate is very beneficial to the society and consumer. Why? The applicable products can be mobility products and the IT products, but greenhouse gas emissions, carbon emissions due to transportation is 20% of the total global amount. So if you use the magnesium material, it cost and weight down, less energy consumed, cheap and easy to handle, and less greenhouse emission. Something like this. I mean, I could have, at that time in 2002, I could have, instead of magnesium plate, I could have do some titanium. I could have do some more fancy and non-social, the profit-making, some plate. But we choose that, and they invested, and this is, and they now they getting back their returns. Distribution sector. One of the number one distributor, like Korean Walmart, it's called Home Plus. They recognize this problem, not only the social issue but also their company issue, and they need to have systematic, fundamental solution. So they introduce the green store. Like, they do lots of activities like energy production and energy saving, LED change, photovoltaic on the top, and green mileage to their consumers, communicating with their consumers. When they give the green mileage to their consumers, they think the green store of Home Plus sells the right product, all of the products. Of course, the Home Plus do not sell the old products as a green, but consumer perceive this Home Plus as a good product seller. So financial benefit, 40% reduction and 44% of cost reduction and so on. Agriculture. Since 1986, there is organic food cooperative called Hansalim. The producer invests and operate, and consumer also invest and operate. They participated in this business as a consumer. So for consumer, they can get safe, high-quality food. Producer, secure economic viability. Local community, stable rural economy. Hansalim's benefits, financial benefit, as you can see from this chart, it's getting bigger. Well, you see this AVI from the Google. Well, the red dot is deforestation progress. See, maybe this doesn't seem to be related to the business, but this has a very significant meaning for the green society. I get this presentation back last year in April. I gave a speech to the Business for Environment in Indonesia. But there was a speaker from Google saying that they developed the Google Earth engine using their satellite image and data processing platform and application, providing the data catalog and workspace for monitoring land and forest. You know what's the benefit for Google and for society? The greenhouse gas emission, again, due to deforestation, is again 20% of the global total amount. So it's inevitable to have forest monitoring for greenhouse gas reduction. It could have taken 15,000 hours of computation now with this engine, less than a day. You have to measure before you reduce it. You have to report and verify, and then you have to measure it. That's why it has a significant meaning. Last but not least, the building sector. Sorry for using these all ABC things. Since I'm actually doing this project, so I cannot really identify the even country. I'm sorry. That's as mentioned, I'm in charge of this Asia Pacific, so I keep communicating with the country leaders. But I realized that all the Asian, like developing the countries like Indonesia and Philippines and Malaysia and Thailand, other countries, they have high electricity price comparing to their GDP or their status, economic status, and low efficiency. And there are lots of electricity still too. So they have very unstable the electricity supply and demand and high price. And the building also, I realized that they're building an industrial complex are facing the exactly same status that Korea had experienced. So I decided to bring some experts from Korea who have this energy saving technology for 30 years, last 30 years. And take a look at, have them take a look at this industrial complex or the big buildings in developing countries and just try to find some quick wins to save the energy. Well, this gives the big benefit for both of the countries. I mean, in Korea, we were so focusing on this energy efficiency for 30 or 40 years, not because of green society, but because of cost reduction. So we have some technology sector by sector, and I'm an engineer. Some part I'm an engineer, so I just sort of arranged this sector technology and try to catch some revenue. Well, conclusion. Green era, it's not an environmental issue, but a social paradigm change. So there will be some money allocation from international negotiation, from the developed to developing, and more regulations, as I just showed you, with more chances for business. And business strategy, that's why I must incorporate green era. Best practice in same sector matters, but still timing concerns. Thank you.